On it, jump on it. Apache, jump on it, jump on it. Oonga, 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 oonga.
I'm Big Bang, I am the chief. I got a lot of raps, but I'll be brief. I never need a horse, I like the chick. So I drive up in my new Civic. My tribe went down in the Hall of Fame, cause I'm the one who shot Jesse James. Pound for pound, I will never break down. Big Bang. No sir, I don't mess around. Oh, oh, oh.
Tonto, jump on it, jump on it, jump on it. Apache, jump on it, jump on it. Oonga, 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 oonga.
Like Kimosabe, of course it's me, better known as the Master G. I'm fucking in squad, sense the danger, when it's done about the rapping ranger. Had a little talk with a medicine man, he said get them squads fast as you can. To all you girls that wanna join my tribe, just move to my rhythm and feel my vibe. Put up a fuss in the end you'll agree, but when you come inside my TV, as I said before, you can sense the danger when you're stung about the rapping ranger. With Silver and I take a ride, all you just better step aside. I steal the squads, then run away. How Silver is what I'll say. How, how.
Hit it again.
How, how, how. Tonto, jump on it, jump on it, jump on it. Apache, jump on it, jump on it.
Welcome to the Spirit Animal Podcast. Today we do have a special guest, Claudius, also known as the Snake Father. This man is an inspiration not only to our business or our own family, but throughout the entire reptile community. It is far-fetched from the intro that I might be able to provide today, but this guy has really pushed out through our mimic of our business plan, or the mimic of how we derive our business. It's almost as a mimic of this man that we're about to talk to. But without further ado, the Snake Father.
Good evening.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight. How's your day going?
Pretty good, pretty good. It's been a busy Saturday. Today I had 2 shoots earlier before the podcast, and I know that we've been postponing just because I've been busy. But I'm glad that we finally were able to get some time to be able to get together and do this podcast.
Man, it really took some time to get scheduled, but I'm glad we actually came around and got it scheduled. But I can relate. I was supposed to go to this morning for it's kind of like an educational showing for a pop-up from 12 to 4. But we didn't make it. We just had a family emergency, but you know how it goes, man. We just have to reschedule. Yeah, man. So far, I don't think we've had any shoots this month, but it's been pretty slow this month for photo shoots.
Yeah.
But hopefully next month we have some scheduled. I know we have a couple scheduled for our own animals and myself. I've been wanting to get a photo shoot done for the longest time, man.
Hey, well, now you're gonna have the time to do it.
Yeah, finally, brother, finally. And what was today, man? Any other plans after today? You have any other photo shoots scheduled?
Let's see. Well, now that I'm back home, I'm gonna get the animals situated, clean a few enclosures. You know, usual maintenance with the snakes.
Any breeding right now, or do you have any babies?
Well, I currently have one clutch in the incubator, and I've got one female that's due to drop literally any day now. So I've got a clutch of eggs from a retic, and the pairing was Motley Phantom to Phantom Golden Child. So I'm expecting to get some Super Phantoms, which are all white, and some Motley Goldens, which are all black. So I'm looking to get some like yin and yang with this clutch.
That's gonna be amazing, and the variation you can get with retics is insane too.
Exactly, it's just like a whole spectrum.
Yeah, you got to hit him up when his babies come out. It's beautiful animals. Brother, to get started, I wanted to give a small intro in between how we actually met or how we actually came to be. I actually just hit up the Snake Father online, on Instagram, and we started off from there, admiring his animals and just looking at his way of being. I myself was a photographer. I liked to do photography back in the day in high school. I took a couple courses and I continued off with the old, shut and close cameras, the old lenses or the Nikon cameras. And from there on, it just became something that I left on as a past hobby until around the time when we started moving into working from home, prior to COVID. So we were sent home probably about a year and a half prior to COVID happening. We work for Humana Insurance, and this is for Medicare insurance. So it was kind of sketched out, that they started moving us a year and a half prior to working from home. And then everything started happening and all those calls started coming in. It was a very flux time. But during that period, we started, getting into different hobbies. My wife started getting into her hobbies. I started getting into my reptiles. The first animal that we owned was a Honduran milk snake, and then from there it just became a hoarding obsession until I found what I really wanted to do.
That sounds very familiar.
When we saw you do, the photography scene and then involving models and getting into that industry, I myself have dealt with the music industry and the radio industry prior to doing any photography. So it was kind of like an easy correlation to happen, it was just bounding to happen at one point in time. And you, man, were the greatest inspiration to push me to do it. You and Elias, it was just like seeing your guys' work, like his photography is insane. And then seeing your just constant hustle, because on your end, brother, it's like, not only just photography or what you do, but you're running the track. You're doing something else with choreography in Hollywood, or you're doing a film, Volgate or something. It's insane to see you work.
Yeah, it's never a dull moment. I can say that I try to keep myself busy. Like idle time is not something that I really enjoy. Like I like keeping busy. I like being productive. So the more that I can do and the more that I can just produce and be, is just the better off I am.
Yeah, and it seems like that's kind of like the running towards the middle of the hurricane. It's the calmest place to be.
In the eye of the storm, yeah.
The eye of the storm, brother. So since we're talking about spirituality, do you have any type of spiritual habits that you get into prior to starting your day or initiating your day?
I'd like to say yes, but I know that I'm not as consistent with them as I should be. So, when I'm cognizant of it, when I'm mindful of it, I do take a moment to appreciate where I am in life and appreciate my mindset, my perspective, and acknowledge that it is not just me. Like there's a higher power, and there's a path that we're on, and like I take a moment, I take a breath, and really be grateful for where I am and what I am and how I am.
Gratitude. That is your
Yes,
ritual.
gratitude. Yeah.
That is your ritualistic being grateful. And do you find yourself on a daily doing this, or it's just something that just when it comes to being, you're just like
When it
absorbing
yeah
it?
when it comes to me, that's when I'm able to actually be in that space. I wish that it was daily. I having this conversation now puts me in a mindset where I should think of it daily. Appreciate the blessings that I have in my life. Appreciate um, just actually taking the time to acknowledge it is very
Yeah.
important. It's essential to realize how far I've come.
And you show it with your being, just what you put out with your work. It's very inspiring to see somebody put out that much hustle. It is some other person would be burnt out, brother, and I feel you like
Oh,
a
it
lot
is a
of other
hustle.
people would.
It's
Yeah.
definitely a hustle.
And you have to maintain that physique, you have to maintain the mental stamina. It takes time to acquire all of that, but I'm glad you're blessed with it, brother. Do you have any spiritual beliefs, or do you practice a specific religion?
Well, I was raised Christian, and I still have ties to the religion. I can't say that I've been to church recently, but I do still have faith, and I will always have faith. And it's something that I feel has kind of molded me, and that's kind of like my baseline for how I have my outlook on life.
Other than Christianity, do you practice any other type of cult or any type of practice?
I can't say that I actively practice any other form of religion or spirituality, but I have always found myself to be very open minded to others and their spiritual beliefs. And as an individual, I feel like my own personal beliefs have kind of developed or even changed, I would say, to some extent, depending on like my life experience and then also the interactions that I've had with others who have other, beliefs and other upbringings and other histories.
Bro, question, and I asked this because I see it on your posts. Like some of your snakes are named after the deities of Yoruba, and I practice
Right,
Yoruba
right,
myself.
right.
Do you have any sense of practice in the religion of Yoruba or the practice of Yoruba?
I don't. I really would. I'd like to delve into it because it is very fascinating to me. It is something that I feel I'm drawn to, but it's not something that I have actively pursued as of yet.
Definitely, and there is a lot of it in the reptile community, and I see it. And the practice is very in the Cuban community or the Portuguese community or the southern part of Cuba. There's a lot of belief that everything should be kept to secret, and that is the mistake that a lot of the practice make. And
Ah,
that's what I see in the reptile community, that there's a lot of mispractice and misuse, and there's a lot of guidance that could be made.
right.
Yeah. And it's a beautiful religion, brother. Why do you feel like you're interconnected with it, or what calls you to it?
Um, I would say that I feel connected to it because it's it's something that has literally been around for many generations, and it crosses over different cultures, and it's something that it holds its own even among some of the more mainstream religions. And I respect that, and I've always been drawn to things that are not necessarily the vanilla aspect of things. If it's something that kind of raises an eyebrow, then I'm intrigued. If it's something
Yeah.
that's out of the norm, then I'm drawn to it. And that's something that there's a whole lot of other aspects to it that I haven't explored, and I know that I want to.
Yeah. Yeah. And whenever you're interested, brother, we can always have my madrina talk to you. She was born in
Most
Cuba,
definitely.
and she has some madrinas out there in Yemaya rivers out in Yoruba in Africa, and some of those were initiated there. So it's like a very deep culture. I wasn't born into her family, but somehow, since I was a child, I was connected by her. Um,
Mm.
not my great grandfather, but my grandfather and my grandmother used to take me to a babalao, which was a high priest that she was relatives to. And as I became older, I met that person, and she took me back to my childhood high priest. So I wasn't part of this religion or anything. My
Right.
grandfather and my grandmother were shamans from Mexico, so it was a way different cult or religion, But
Right.
somehow it's always been there, and it's coming back and back, and,
Right.
and
Right. Right.
it's always staring at you in the face, and I can relate with that as well.
And now you're in a space where you can actually, appreciate it, or like you're noticing it more than you would when you were a child, and you're able to just see it from a different perspective.
Exactly, and that's where I think religion takes a different route, and so some would say differ, and to everybody, has a specific flavor of cake. It doesn't matter, whatever makes you get to that space. But
Right.
when that bite, you take place and you're savoring that cake, you got to make sure it's your favorite flavor. And
Right. Right. Right.
it will work. It will work as long as it's what you want and it's your path. Bro, how do you combine your physical balance with your work life and your spiritual life? Meaning that, do you have any type of practices that you do on a weekly basis where you go to a church, or you convene with your spouse, or you talk about something that maybe is religious? It doesn't necessarily have to be a religious practice as spiritual, but it can be something religious as like going to the movies or going to a specific place.
Um. Let's see. I'm trying to think because at this point in my life, I don't have a lot of routine, and there are some things that I do religiously. So I try to incorporate things that I can do, without having any type of preparation. So, for example, I have a very eclectic ear, and I love to listen to music. So that's how I unwind. I love to dance. I love to listen to music. And oftentimes, during my daily commute, I will listen to, certain songs, and then just kind of even play them on repeat. And like if it's an instrumental song, then I'll listen to a different instrument every time that I play the song. And it just kind of puts me at ease. It allows my mind to just kind of unwind and wander to different places that I may not have focused on when I was, distracted by other things. And it's a nice way for me to just settle into the day, or settle out of the day, I should say.
So it's like more like a method, like a tranquiling method for you, something that
Yeah,
eases your day out. That's your
yeah,
drug, music.
yeah. Yeah, that would be my drug of choice.
That's beautiful. That's sick though. What is your morning routine as a breeder slash keeper slash handler? Everything that you
um,
are.
well, definitely, the first thing that I would do if I'm not going to be on set, bright and early, then I'm going to check on the animals. I want to make sure that they're all taken care of, that, they have fresh water, that everyone is, just cared for, and I show them the attention that they deserve. So oftentimes I'll take a moment with a couple of different animals that maybe have not been out of their enclosures for a period of time, and I'll just sit with them. And I like to get to know each individual snake's quirks, like their tolerance levels, like some of them that maybe have changed over the course of the past shed cycle. Like especially two reticulated pythons that I have in particular, they're cow retics, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with that morph.
No. You
So
said cow or power?
cow,
Yeah.
COW.
Yeah,
So
cow.
cow
Yeah.
retics, as they age, they develop spots. So every time they shed, they develop more spots. And hello, it's not dark. Well, my fiance just walked in, and so did. So that's
Hello,
Nala.
guy. Hello.
But yeah, so that particular genetic morph, like the cow retic, they develop spots as they age. So it's nice to see, as they grow, how many more spots they have, and like there's one of them that has like a large birthmark, and it's interesting to see how it like changes shape even, because it was just originally just a strange blob, but now it's kind of forming in like the shape of a taco or something. It's interesting.
Question. So, do you see any attitude change in that specific morph?
I
Like
haven't.
I've heard where they become a little bit moody, kind of like some lizards, where they develop that attitude. But I've never kept, so I don't know.
Yeah, I haven't noticed any difference in mood for that genetic morph. But then also another morph that people tend to steer clear of because they're known for being aggressive or defensive is the pied. And I mean, pieds
Mhm.
are some of my favorite morphs. So
And
I've
you can
got
see
quite a
how
few.
placid they are.
Yeah.
How many do you currently own?
Let's see. For Pied Retics, I currently own. Let's see, 2, 4, 7.
Holy shit, my man! And
Yeah,
are you
yeah.
breeding any
I've
of
got a lot of
those?
snakes here. Pardon?
Are you breeding any of those pines?
So one of the Pied females is gravid. I'll actually go into the other reptile room so you can see. Let's see here. I don't know if I can turn the camera around on a podcast. Can I? Probably not.
I don't. Yeah, I don't think so.
All right. Well, then behind me here, try and get out of the glare. Let me see if I can find her face. Can you see her at all?
Yeah, I
Not
think
really.
I can see the face, sorta.
Okay. Let me open this up. She's
Yeah, I
perked
can
up.
see her face.
Yeah, there we
Oh,
go.
there
Now
she's
she.
coming.
Yeah. So that is Mona Lisa.
She's gravid.
Yeah. So she's gravid. I'm expecting her to drop her clutch in the next probably 4 to 5 days.
Jeez, look at the thickness.
And she's a big girl. She's about 16 feet.
Holy shit! What size vision cage you have there?
So that's the 632 that she's in currently.
Hmm.
Yep. So then we've got her. And then let's see. This one here is a Motley Golden that's heteropied.
Oh shit!
And then this girl who's just finished eating. Let's see, I don't know if you can see her very well. That's another pied, and she's got a little rabbit in her.
Damn, she's pretty.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the prettiest ones that I've got. Then we've got another pied here. Turn that around.
Damn.
Yeah, there we go. So that's another one of the pies. And so we got that girl who just shed.
Holy shit! Look at that white contrast, bro.
Yeah, very strong contrast on that one. So that's a Motley pied.
Mm.
And then let's see, that's what 4 out of the 7 pies I've got. Quite a few.
Damn, you got
And then
quite a
for
few,
the
man.
ball python side of things, I've got 14 pied ball pythons.
Holy shit!
Yeah, so like basically everything on this rack on this side is a pied.
God damn, boy.
Yeah, yeah. So
That is a lot, bro.
let's see. Let me find. Trying to think who I want to show.
Do you have any finicky eaters when it comes to ball pythons?
Yes, I do. I've had more than my fair share. Well, I can't say more than my fair share, but I've definitely had my fair share of some picky eaters when it comes to ball pythons. I've tried, switching them over from rats to mice to, African soft furs. I've tried a couple of different things, and oftentimes you just have to wait it out because when they get hungry enough, they will eat.
Yeah.
It's just never when you want it.
It's always at the last moment when they want it.
Oh yeah. And then if it happens to be, the wrong temperature or the wrong size, or you're
A
approaching
little
them,
bit too wet.
no, I don't want it. I don't want it. I changed my mind.
So, previous to breeding reptiles, brother, and handling or becoming a handler, when was the point where you thought it was a catalyst where you switched on to your previous or your next career, which would be what you describe as the Hollywood Live right now? Or do you consider yourself an entrepreneur, or is it just something that you consecutively do with Hollywood?
I do consider myself to be an entrepreneur. I've definitely got my hand in a lot of different pots when it comes to
That's a
careers
good
and
thing. That's a good thing.
employment. So prior to me professionally working with animals, I worked in hospitality. So I used to work for the Hilton Corporation, and I worked in hotels for I think 6 or 7 years. And in addition to that, I was already working in athletics as well. So I've been coaching high school track and cross country, and I was training private clients for some years as well. But it wasn't until I think it was either 2016 or 2017 was when I started working in entertainment.
Yeah. And how did entertainment come to be? Like, what was the story about that?
Say it again.
What was the story of entertainment? How did you become part of
Oh,
entertainment or the entertainment life?
well, there's two different stories that go that kind of follow the same path. So when it comes to being in entertainment in front of the camera, I had kind of dabbled with a couple of I had kind of dabbled with a couple of smaller productions when I was in college, but it was never something that I actively pursued. And then when I moved back to LA after college, I just kind of figured I'd try it again and I'd dabble with it. So a friend of mine who was also an athlete like I was, he was booking commercials for like Nike and Under Armour and Adidas and all that stuff. I'm like, how are you doing this? He's like, oh, well, I act now. I'm not just an athlete. I also am an actor because they oftentimes for fitness commercials and things like that, they want real, people who can do those things without having to be trained for it. They're not going to hire an actor and then have somebody train them how to do it. They want somebody who just knows how to do it naturally. So in that space, I ended up like following in his footsteps because we ended up booking a commercial together. My first commercial that I ever booked was a Nike commercial, and they booked me as a triathlete. And that was, I think that was a year and some change before I qualified for World Championships for ITU, which is International Triathlon Union. So this was when I was still actively competing, and like I booked the commercial, and from there I was hooked. So I wanted to continue on in entertainment. I wanted to kind of build myself up as an actor, or at least as a fitness actor in that sense, because it was kind of like getting paid to work out.
So it was just it developed on itself at that point.
It did. I mean, I kind of just fell into it. Excuse me, one moment. I got a bit of news. Oh boy. Yeah, here's the interesting thing. I have 6 dogs, but I'm allergic to them.
You don't get the shots.
Oh yeah. but but yeah. So then working as an actor, I kind of wanted to figure out how things work behind the scenes as well. So after kind of developing a network of people and just kind of learning how the business worked, I started working as a production assistant for music videos. And within that realm, that was how I ended up connecting with people who I found like an art department or creative directors and people like that who were looking for animals for shoots. And I'm like, oh, that's perfect. I can like tie these two together, figure out how I can get my animals on set. Because during this time, I had always had reptiles because I've been keeping reptiles for most of my life.
Yeah, now you use your cat, you have a Bengal cat
Yeah,
as
my
well, right?
Bengal cat, he's been in a movie which will be coming out at the end of this year. It's called Darkness of Man. And the main actor in that is Jean-Claude Van Damme.
That's
And
insane,
then
brother.
the Frenchie, the dog that just popped into the podcast earlier, she's been in a couple of YouTube videos with some like a couple of viral videos. My corgi, he's been in a commercial and a photo shoot for like a drink, like a kombucha drink. The snakes, I mean, as you know, they've been in numerous music videos, commercials, photo shoots, all that stuff. The chameleons, like a couple of the ones behind me, they've been in a bunch of productions as well. So,
Those are nice.
everybody in this house works.
Nobody lives rent free in that house for sure.
No, nobody lives rent free.
Why did you choose reptiles or animals? Like, what was the point in your life, or did you always keep them as a child?
Oh, I've always loved reptiles. So even as a toddler. So for as long as I can remember, I've been fascinated by reptiles. And growing up, I would be catching lizards in the backyard, and I would be watching Animal Planet and Discovery Channel, and I was always fascinated. Like anytime I could get my hands on a book that had to do with reptiles, I would just read it cover to cover and absorb it like a sponge.
So it was something that you were keen of that just came with you at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Like the
definitely
Sixth Sense.
been a lifelong passion and fascination that I've had.
That's good, brother. Well, as long as it's a passion, you never get tired of passions, and like you say, most of the times in your posts, a lot of people can try to mimic you, but it takes a lot of courage to actually do it again and again and again and again. Because the first
Well,
times you get beat up, the first couple of times.
this is true. I mean, it is flattering though. I mean, imitation is a form of flattery. So I mean, it's nice. It's nice to see, but at the same time, you may have the ingredients, but the sauce may not taste the same.
It takes time to build the flavor. It takes time.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. And I mean, different people have different approaches. Different people have different personalities, and I consider myself to be more like hands-on and involved when it comes to this type of thing. Like I'm a very extroverted person. You're going to know my personality and you're going to see it from the jump. Like as soon as I walk in on set, you're going to know that I'm there and you're going to know who I am and how I am. And I'm proud of it.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, because if you don't have that type of enthusiasm, then there's no sense of energy, and we all run on energy. If somebody wants to come into a building, you feel happy and see that reciprocated throughout the entire building. It's like the whole vibe thing.
Yeah.
As a child, bro, what was your aspiration? What did Claudius want to become? Did he want to be an
Um,
astronaut, actor?
Interestingly enough, it had nothing to do with reptiles. So, growing up, I always said that I wanted to become an obstetrician.
The hell is
So,
that?
so that an obstetrician is basically the doctor that delivers babies.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So like I've always loved children and babies and like the beginning of life. And when I was in middle school, I actually did a research project on gynecology. So like I shadowed an obstetrician. Like I watched like a woman give birth. Like there's so many things. Like I was fascinated by this, and just life in general has always been something that I've been drawn to. But that was not necessarily the career path that I followed, nor was it something that I decided that I wanted to pursue once I got to college either. Um, at one point, I thought I was going to pursue veterinary medicine, but for me personally, when I volunteered at a vet clinic, it wasn't an enjoyable experience. I mean, I was around sick people, I mean, sick animals and sad people. So, it's not a very positive environment.
Hmm.
So, I've just kind of made a career for myself in my own niche. And
It
I'm
takes a
grateful.
lot of courage to wake up at 12 o'clock in the morning to deliver a baby. That takes a lot of guts. I love my sleep. I love my sleep because it's only 4 hours, but I need it. Yeah. And since a child, you always thought that like I want to be an OBGYN. Like that's what I'm gonna do.
So there's a story behind it, though. So when I was a toddler, I was going through my grandfather's old medical books. So my grandfather, he was actually one of the first African American surgeons in the state of California. And I'm
Really?
his namesake, actually. So in my family, it was kind of thought that, okay, well, Claudius is going to follow in his grandfather's footsteps. He's going to be a doctor. So
Yeah.
from a very, very early age, I was kind of being groomed to follow in his footsteps. Like I went to the National Medical Association conventions every summer as a kid. I shadowed doctors. I did mock surgeries on cadavers. Like I definitely had an in-depth upbringing when it comes to practicing medicine.
See, that's something that I wanted to get into, and during the time that I was attempting to become part of the military, my MOS was going to be mortuary affairs, so it's like embalming of the bodies. I was
Yeah.
always attracted about like dead bodies, like I always liked the look, or I don't know, it was just something that was mysterious.
Right. 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 And it's something that's taboo because I mean, a lot of cultures and a lot of a lot of our society is like, oh, okay, well, once you're dead, it's like, okay, we're gonna keep this under wraps. This is like behind closed doors, hush hush. And I think that's something that we share. Like you and I both are kind of drawn to the things like, why are you not talking about it? Why is it behind closed doors?
Exactly. I remember my dad working at University Medical Center, and he worked downstairs in the morgue. And I remember seeing the pulsations of the cases breathing out, and you just see
Uh
all
huh.
the bodies just come out in cold air. It just looked
Yeah.
like a movie scene, but it didn't scare me or anything. It was just interesting to see the
Yeah.
bodies just like come out.
And then that smell of formaldehyde.
It's not like a stench, but it's like a sulfur stench. Like
Yeah, yeah,
it's very
it's
penetrating.
definitely an acquired scent. There are a lot of people who are disgusted by it, but I mean, it's never bothered me.
Yeah, it's almost like when you open like a rotten sewer.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, what else would you expect? I mean, it's a decomposing body.
Bodies are a trip, especially when it's like loved ones. That's something that I could never understand in the military. Like, how can you pick up your buddy, from the ground? I didn't personally go to the military yet, but I feel pain for those who did.
uh, well, hey, it made you who you are today. Without those experiences in your life, you wouldn't have the same perspective you have.
That's true, but like I said, I didn't go to the military, but I feel sorry for the people who did. And I'm all rolling here on the podcast, brother. I'm sorry.
Hey, you're good. No judgment on my part.
Do you smoke, brother? Do you partake in any drugs or any type use
So yeah, I don't
recreational?
smoke. I have definitely tried. I mean, it's weird to say that I tried to smoke, but like in my experience with marijuana, I've never really felt drawn to it. I usually end up feeling paranoid and out of place. So, I'd rather not. I'd rather not. So, like my my lifestyle has never really been conducive to me smoking marijuana.
And what about any psychedelics? Like when you go to Coachella or do something special, have you
Oh,
taken
I've
any
never been to
part?
Coachella. I'd like
You've
to
never
at
been
some
to
point.
Coachella? Oh,
I've never been. My
gotta
brother,
go.
on the other hand, he's been twice.
Oh shit, he's
Yeah,
living both
he
your
just
lives.
got back.
Well, you
Pardon?
got to take Nurse Perry with you next time you go.
Oh yeah. So, let's see. What was the question? I'm trying to remember.
I dipped off on something else. What did I say? I don't know, man. Your aspiration, your motivations, superstitions. I don't know, brother. Can you remember the past thing that we were talking about?
Let's see. Let's just jump into something. Pick a question. No harm in skipping around. We don't have to keep track.
Do you have a superstition, brother, or any type of thing that you do,
Mm.
like maybe jiggle your hand before you walk out the door, or something special that you do, or wear some special underwear?
Um, Not usually. I've definitely like if I think about it, it's like okay, well if I want to try and make some money, maybe I'll wear some green underwear. I don't know, but it's not something that I do consistently. Um, Prior to racing, like when I was competing, there were like certain visualizations that I would do prior to a race, just to kind of get my mind set and situated. But now I think more so stream of consciousness is something that I just let my mind flow where it goes, and then when it picks a topic, I'll delve and go down the rabbit hole with it. But there's not necessarily anything that I can say that is like a superstition or something that I always do. Like I just kind of I kind of shoot in the dark with it. I'll just like throw out the line and reel in what I can.
That's a good theory. It's
Yeah,
when you release and you let go. Because when you start
yeah.
pulling on that reel, you're never going to catch that fish. Who do you consider an idol or a motivational sense in your life, brother? Like somebody who maybe it's not a person, maybe it's an animal, maybe it's a mentor or somebody who passed away, but something that might be a motivation in a living sense.
Um, well, I can definitely say my father. 100%. My father is someone who I admire, who I aspire to be like, who like I'm proud to be able to say that I am his son. And like just the way that I was brought up and the way that he's raised me and certain things that he's taught me. And even now, like if I call him up today, I can, just leave the conversation with different words of wisdom and a more positive outlook on things. Cause like I definitely seek his counsel. So my father would be my number one person for that.
Condolences, brother. So he is passed already, you're saying?
Pardon? No. My father is alive.
Okay. I misreceived that info. I just go back a couple sentences there.
Backtrack that. Backtrack that.
Bag it up.
Yeah.
I,
So like
I,
that's somebody
I,
who I admire a lot.
I could see that relationship with a father figure as my grandfather. I
Yeah.
didn't have a father pretty much growing up. He was always working, and my mother was out of the picture too. So it was only grandparents raising me, sort of, I guess. Misconceptions of growth,
Right.
but it was a good development. They were my stronghold, and I thank them for all of the tactics and their knowledge. So not a lot of knowledge, for an 80-year-old person to just
Yeah.
pass
A
on
lot
to
of knowledge
some
and wisdom.
stupid kid. To just pass on to a stupid kid.
Well, you know what? I mean, you take it all in, you use what you can, and you save the rest for later.
That's true. Yeah, because you can't eat the entire pie at once.
Right, right.
Bro, do you believe in any type of connection spiritually between energies? It could be spiritual, it could be some type of ghost theory that you might have, or it could even be just like a person that you love and you know that you have that intimate connection. Do you believe in some type of energy that is there and present?
Hmm. I would say yes, and in more ways than one.
How is that?
So energy goes where it flows. And then if we are mindful of where we are putting our energy, certain things will stand out. So if there's something or someone that catches our attention, it's not on accident. And when there are certain things that seem to really intrigue us and draw us in, we shouldn't ignore it. And I feel like even more so recently, I've been trying to pay attention to that because a lot of times we block our blessings. We ignore certain things because it maybe it just doesn't seem like it's quite right, or overthinking it, and it's just like out of the blue or whatever. It's like, no, this couldn't be right. This couldn't be it. But it's important to really allow things to flow instead of being forced. So with energy, spirituality, like other aspects in life, like you just need to flow with it.
So do you
And
believe that there is that energy or that sense there?
yes,
It's
yes,
just
most
something.
definitely. Most definitely.
Have you had it with any person that might be of a relationship, maybe your wife or a special friend, where it became something that it was like a second or a sixth sense that you guys were developing? Maybe it was some type of intuitional thought, or you guys read each other's mind before saying anything. Have you had that happen in the past?
Yes. And I feel like that really comes with developing relationships with people. Because once you are able to let down your wall and, like, let your guard down and be truly your authentic self with that person, I feel like that is when you're able to align with each other. And it doesn't necessarily need to be someone who is, a significant other, or that you're in a relationship with. Be able to have
It could
that
be a
type of a
strange.
connection.
It could be a stranger on the street, who
Yeah,
just
like
smiled at you that day.
if you like have that, just if you make eye contact with somebody more than once, there's a reason for it.
Mhm.
Like that's something that I've kind of lived by. If you make eye contact with somebody more than once, there's a reason for it. And I tend to be the extroverted person who's going to go out and introduce myself. I will walk up to you and say, "Hi, my name is Claudius." Like I want to find out why, even if it were just in that surface level, why did we look at each other? There was no real reason for us to make eye contact.
It was just a sense, and I find myself as well, like just staring off in the room, like either when we're presenting or doing something out in the public, and you just find yourself drawn to these energies, and it's just like it's a connection of energies where it's something
Right.
that's at your level. It's something that there is levels to these energies, and it's not like to be segregating certain levels to levels, but it does happen to be that way, that certain people have a level of frequency.
Hmm.
You bang the bell, and it's going to mimic the bell if it has the same frequency. But if it's on a different level, it's not going to match the same sound.
Right. Very relevant. Very relevant.
Brother, what do you consider in spirituality that has been your tactic on a daily, or something that you use other than a religion? Maybe it could be something that you're attracted to, with like Buddhism, or some open-minded type of path where it's just something that you see and it's like you're attracted to it, like I want to buy that on the corner because it has an idol of it. Is there any type of path that you've taken, or any type of maybe ritualistic forms?
Not currently, no. I can't say
No,
that there is.
not currently. And have you had any type of spiritual connections with animals?
I feel that I have, but I wouldn't really know how to describe it. Um, because when I'm around certain animals, it's almost like it's not chills, but it's really, like I said, it's just difficult to describe. Um, it's a sense of fulfillment, but also calm. I'm really not sure how to put it into words, but I guess it's a really good feeling. That's all I can say.
It's
And
like a
like when I
sense of
have that feeling,
serenity,
yes,
right?
it is serenity. Yes, yes, that's the perfect word.
That's insane. And do you feel that with any specific like species of animal, or it's just
Oh,
all
definitely with the
animals
snakes.
creatures?
Definitely with the
With-
snakes.
Yeah,
More so than any others, definitely the snakes.
they're very
I,
spiritual. If
I
you look at them, they're very inquisitive animals.
yes. I mean, and it's interesting to sit and watch them and see how they live and how they interact, because I'm always curious to know, like, what are they thinking? What is their thought process as they go through life, as they interact and just do as they be, just as they be, as a being.
And that's per se like it goes back to spirituality. Like maybe it's that we're given that consciousness being, to have that ability to actually pursue consciousness rather than being on a reptile mind or a primal state of being, because
Right.
that would be my perception of looking of nature. But maybe they are looking at life at a higher intelligence that we are. It's
Right.
just,
And it's something that we just aren't aware of, something that we don't understand.
yeah, that's insane to think of. And you're just like, maybe this person or this snake is just stalking me and they're from another planet.
Alien, man.
What do you think your spirit animal is?
I thought about that before we got on this podcast, and it's interesting because I feel like as I have grown and developed into myself, my spirit animal has changed. So growing up, I always thought that my spirit animal was an elephant, and now I'm not so sure. Now I'm feeling like I'm drawn to multiple different species of animals, and I guess I could say like a chameleon, because I mean I'm drawn to different things, but um, it's really interesting to see how that has changed and developed, from my childhood into adulthood, because now I don't necessarily have a set species that I would consider to be my spirit animal.
So it might be like a mystical creature. Maybe you're just like some crazy ass
Ooh.
griffin with like a reptile tail and like a lion's head.
Hey, you never know. It could be something that, it hasn't been discovered.
Like a dragon, brother. I believe dragons existed to a sense.
Maybe not in the way that we portray them in the media, but definitely there's something that would resemble them in nature.
But to breathe fire, I mean, that would be high fetch, but it would be insane. That would
Well, I
be
mean,
insane.
we're reaching the age where we get heartburn. We're starting to breathe fire.
That's for sure. That's for sure. That you eat that chorizo, man, and they'll get you.
Too much
What is
hot
your
sauce.
favorite animal, man? What happened, brother?
Oh, I said too much hot sauce, but yeah.
Too much hot
Uh,
sauce, yeah.
let's see. My favorite animal, I'd say that I have two. I'm definitely partial to reticulated pythons and green anacondas. Those are my top two.
Man, look at that.
There it is.
There it is. It's the dream animal, man. But I made my promise. I said I'm not going to get an anaconda until I have enough space outside. 12 by 12 by 12 where I can set it
Okay.
in a nice enclosure.
Okay.
Some animals, it's just like I want a token for them. I owe Bob as well some for that a patternless rock python. I haven't gotten it
Yeah,
yet.
African
But
rock.
I still have it. Yeah, I still have it on a payment plan. Been on it for like about 9 months, man. It's insane.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he knows, man. He knows. It's best not to get an animal when you don't have the space.
Right. Very, very true. I mean, I'm grateful that I'm able to dedicate 2 bedrooms to the animals.
Exactly. And that's what I'm saying. Like, if I can get an animal started, to a certain degree where it's good for 4 years, I'm good. But I'm not going to get an animal and buy an enclosure 2 years later, another one, another 2 years later, another one.
Right.
I'd rather have it set. For some of them, like even the ones I have outside, I'm always remodeling them because it's that ADHD that I have in me, man.
And it is something that is fulfilling. Like if we are able to give them a better environment, it makes us feel better about it.
Yeah, man. I love my vision cages. I regret selling a lot of them, but my vision cages come in clutch. The humidity it's just right. Everything is just perfect. Overcapping of lights. It's insane the quality that they made them to. They're almost like bulletproof.
Yeah.
Why do you like the reticulated python, or what is it that draws to you in that animal? Like, what is the specific retic? Like, I see you a lot. Like, even that pose from the Snake Father with the chair, that's a retic.
Yeah. Yep. Retics, they're just. I like big snakes. Number one, I like very genetics. That's number two. They're very active. A lot of them are really misunderstood. Like you're not going to see a lot of people going around with retics for like in what I do. You're not going to see a lot of retics for photo shoots and music videos and stuff like that. You're going to see people with balls and berms. So I want to kind of go outside the box with that and introduce people to a species that they wouldn't normally interact with.
Do you work with dwarfs, or are you just specifically working with maidens?
Well, I have a couple of dwarfs in my collection, but I prefer the big ones, man. There's nothing like having 150-pound snake.
Man, as soon as you pull it out, you have smaller snakes, and then you see the public coming through, and then you're pulling out that big one, and then it just herds towards you.
It's a crowd stopper. It's a showstopper.
It's a crowd stopper. Everybody just sees it, and it's just like, oh, look at that snake, and they've never touched a snake. Yeah, it's not real to them.
People look at an animal like that and think, wow, how is it possible that something could be that size? And I mean, I feel the same way when I see something like an elephant or a giraffe or something like that. When you see these large, imposing creatures that have so much presence, you have to respect it. They command your respect.
You almost feel humbled to a sense where it humbles you.
It is very, very humbling, yes.
Feeling the vibration. Have you ever felt the vibration of a rhino?
I have not.
So here at the Reed Park Zoo in Tucson, when I was a child, I had an encounter where you could go up to the belly of the rhino and put your head against it. You can hear the vibration of the rhino.
Wow,
bro, that was like insane experience, like almost like a reverberation inside of you, like it was part of you, like it felt like a sink. It's insane to think that animals can have such connection with us just by like one breath. It's almost like some shit on Avatar. But it's insane. If you can recommend one piece of advice in your business area, whether if it be for breeding or keeping, bro, or maybe in the Hollywood business as well, what would be one piece of advice to any entrepreneur out there?
Let's see. piece of advice, definitely start small because you don't want to try to bite off more than you can chew and get overwhelmed and then lose sight of why you got into it. Because a lot of people, excuse me 1 second.
No problem, bro.
So a lot of people will lose sight of what their passion was initially getting into reptiles when they're chasing something. Like they're either chasing a dollar or chasing fame or chasing followers or chasing whatever. Like you want to really stay true to your passion, stay true to what it was that got you interested in these animals in the first place.
I feel you there, and to the point where it's like it happens in our own lives. You know, it's a reflection of what goes on into all of like the reptile community. A lot of us go into that depth where eventually become hoarders because a lot of us like to see the new animals on Morph Market, and we fall victim to it. You know, and we end up buying more than we can chew. But it comes to this sense where you have to make the sacrifice and say, I have to, reduce my collection, or I have to breed what I really want to breed instead of just buying it because it's the latest thing or it's something that just got my eye at that point. Like I did it myself with some of the monitors that I had at the beginning, like Niles. Like, why the hell would I get Niles? Well, because I liked the color. That's why I got it, and I kept them. It was something that I loved. It was because it was a development within me. Like I picked these animals because I liked them. I didn't pick them because of the value. I didn't pick them because they were popular in Morph Market or anything. It was more because what I liked. And once I started putting it into the business and I saw that people like ball pythons, immediately I was like, no, I'm not buying any ball pythons. I'm not breeding them. I'm not doing anything with ball pythons because I'm the rebel. I always go against the grain. I don't like to have what other people like, and it's unfortunate because I can see the hustle and I can see the amount of growth that you can get with ball pythons. But I still sell them, but I end up flipping them instead of breeding them and actually making my own money. But it's like I can see the amount of growth that ball python breeders can have real quick. For anybody who sets 2 to 3 years of effort with ball pythons, I believe can make it, and I believe you can reflect with that as well.
I agree. Interesting thing is, I didn't even try to start breeding ball pythons until COVID. So I was one of those guys who was like, "Oh, I'm never gonna do it. Never, don't want ball pythons. Have no desire. Blah blah blah." And then, of course, when you have too much time on your hands,
you get into 17 pieds.
yeah.
And do you sell them buy to sell, or is those are just your breeders of your own collection?
Interestingly enough, most of the animals or most of the snakes that I have in my collection are not breeders. They're ones that I have in my, my cycle of snakes that I bring out for rentals.
Oh, okay.
So a lot of the animals, unless it's a special request, a lot of the animals get cycled through so that way they have time to rest and recover and not be stressed or anything like that. Because I'm not here to exploit my animals. I want to make sure that, if they aren't comfortable or happy or comfortable in any type of situation, that they will not be in it.
Absolutely.
And I don't want to overwhelm any of my animals in any way, shape, or form. So, if I have like today, I had 2 shoots today, and between those 2 shoots, 3 different snakes were used. It wasn't just one snake for both shoots.
And when you do those shoots, brother, like this is a good question to ask actually, because I myself might fall victim to it where I might use them maybe 3 or 4 times a week. It might be the same animal. What would you recommend as a cycle per animal? Like how many events or how many hours would you cycle an animal?
It varies depending on the snake. So each individual snake has its own different tolerance level. And, there's some that might be more tolerant than others. So if I'm going to take something out, number one, it's already got a base level of tolerance that's higher than your average pet snake. It's
Absolutely.
going to
Yeah.
be it's going to be more comfortable with being transferred. It's going to be more comfortable with lights and sound and touch and all kinds of things that they would need to be desensitized to, essentially. So if I'm going to bring a particular snake out and I know that it's going to be very stimulating, I want to make sure that I bring out a snake that is comfortable being out for an hour or two. You know, if not, then I know that I'm going to need to bring out multiple, so that way I can cycle through them every 20 to 30 minutes. So that way that they're not exposed to any extreme temperature or any. I'm trying to think of how to word this. Well, just so they're not overly stressed. You
Yeah,
know.
and see, that's what I do with the girls that I take. I take two retakes. I take the purple, I take the Burmese, and the Atlas, the dwarf.
Yeah.
But we take them out once a month, so it wouldn't be much stress for them. If we do end up having shoots throughout the week, then that would be a week that might be a double or a triple.
Right.
But other than that, I mean, they're only being taken out once a month. If they are in shed, then there's no point of taking them out. They either have to reschedule or something else. But yeah, man, our animals are always first when it comes to
Exactly. Because anybody that is on, going into shed or just ate or is about to, come finish digesting their meal, they're not going to do anything anyway. I'm not going
that.
to have to leave the house. But even if they're not working, I do still take my snakes out periodically. I mean, if I'm cleaning the enclosure, like doing a deep cleaning with the larger snakes, they're going to be in the bathroom in the shower. Like I've got the water running on them. They're going to be able to soak. They're going to be able to, climb up the up to the windowsill in the bathroom if they want to. Like they're able to have other forms of, enrichment and stimulation
Yep.
versus them just being in their enclosure all the time. Because
Yep.
I'm not one that feels that they need to just be kept enclosed at all times.
You
If
don't.
they want to, because I definitely have one snake in particular that does not like to be out of its enclosure, and this is my largest snake. You know, she's in her enclosure 99% of the time, unless I'm just cleaning it out, and it is a hassle trying to get her out of the enclosure. So she'll grip corners, like all four corners of her vision enclosure with her body, so that way she won't let me pull her out. And I'm like, okay, well, obviously you don't want to be out of here. You are comfortable in your cave, in your safe space.
Yeah,
But
you
then
always have to tailor to the snake.
say again?
You always have to tailor to the snake,
Exactly,
essentially.
exactly.
Yeah.
And like I have other snakes where if I open up the sliding glass front, they're where are we going? What are we doing? I'm ready to get out of here.
The ones that bust your glass, I've seen your stories before, man, and
Yeah,
busted
yeah,
glass.
yeah. That one. So that's Yamaya. That's my Phantom Golden. That's the one that has a clutch in the incubator right now.
Damn.
Yeah, she was my troublemaker last year.
The amount of stress that they would have to put in that, it's insane.
Oh yeah, that's so much body force. But like the thing is, these panes of glass are not that thick, and when you're dealing with a 100-pound snake, if it puts all of its weight in one little spot,
Yep.
you
It's bound to
expect
happen.
something's got to give.
Yep. Did you put in thicker glass or did you just kept with the same?
Right now, she still has her broken glass.
Yeah,
I
man. Those
ordered
things
some.
come in like 4 months.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It actually just came in recently. Since she's laid the clutch, the new pane of glass came in. But I didn't want to replace the glass until after she had laid because I'm like, okay, well, the last time you had this issue, you were gravid. Let me not swap out the glass before you lay. And then like next thing I know, I had another broken piece of glass.
Yep. It's redundant at that point.
Yeah.
Bro, what's your favorite animal in your collection that you keep?
Yet again, there's two, and that's me limiting it like heavy, heavy, heavy because I've got multiple favorites. So one of my favorites Let's see if I can get him out here. He might be a little hungry, so we'll see if he'll let me pull him out. There we go.
The
So
anaconda.
this is Popeye, my green anaconda. So he's definitely one of my favorites, if not my favorite, when it comes to animals that I've got in my collection. And it's great having a hand tame anaconda.
That's a beauty, brother. That's a beautiful anaconda.
So he
Yeah, man, you don't really get hand tame anacondas that easily. Did you get him as a baby?
I did. Yeah, I've had
How long
him,
have you had him?
I've had him since December of 2020, I believe is when I got him. So yeah, he's or it was 2019.
Put on some weight.
It was either 2020 or 2019. I don't recall. I have to double check the records. But he's 3 years old. He's going at least 3 years old.
He's got some weight on him.
Yeah, he's got some size.
Damn, that's a beautiful snake, man.
Thank you. Yeah, he's one that actually has not been in any productions as of yet.
You're not comfortable yet, or?
It's not that I'm not comfortable. It's more so that I kind of want to just have him for special occasions. And
He's my baby.
Yeah, he's my baby. I haven't had a request that seemed quite special enough to bring him out to showcase him yet. But probably when I do a photo shoot of my own, then I'll probably bring him out for that.
Well, see, Ariana, the girl that had told you about that wants to do the event out there in California in LA. They're not gonna do it at a Cobra. They're doing it at an actual like studio. So if you want, man, you can take him there.
Maybe. Let me get him back in there.
Brother, what would be your favorite genre of music?
Favorite genre of music? Definitely R&B. Specifically 90s R&B. Like I live my life to a 90s R&B soundtrack.
I hear you there. 90s R&B and oldies but goodies and all the doo-wop and old scratches. Man, my stepfather grew up on Elvis Presley, the Beatles, and
Okay.
all that old stuff. But they were very prominent in the 60s and the 70s to play at a band out in Wisconsin and Utah. They would play under a doo-wop band, and it was just vocal. It wasn't no instrumental, and I was just like doo-wop.
Wow.
Like old school. And the reason that he went into the military was because he was singing doo-wop on a street when he was a child. So it was frowned upon, for him to being out on the streets, singing out his soul. So it was the worst thing to do back in the 60s. So he had to go into the military.
Wow.
It's funny to hear the stories now, because it's like before.
Right. Different time.
Now we wish our children would be out singing their soul out.
Right.
Brother, those were the last of our questions today. It's been a pleasure, man, to have this conversation with you. Do you have any questions for us tonight?
Let's see. What would you say is the reason why you got into reptiles? Like what drew you into it?
What threw me into it?
Yeah.
So as a child, there was this exhibit in Mexico City, Chapultepec City. And I recall seeing this exhibit. It was for vipers and rhinoceros, iguanas, and like cyclura.
Okay.
And my great-grandfather took me because my great-grandmother had died at the time, and that's why we were in Mexico. And Chapultepec is like the size of Disneyland. And it's not only just animal exhibits, it's like other resorts and stuff. But for the entire day, he stayed there with me because I wanted to be inside of that viper room. So since I was a child, I love the look, the sheen of reptiles. But when I truly got into them was because I was falling into almost like a hole of depression. My father died when I was 16. My mother left me when I was 7 years old. So I had a really hard life when I started out, as a child. But I found love with animals, not just reptiles, but other animals. I was working with my grandfather at the time, doing wrought iron, and we would build doors, security doors for people. And I was just a 12-year-old kid, rolling around with my grandfather, and people would give me animals and goats, sheep, all types of fauna. And it was just a gift of gesture because I was helping my grandfather out. They didn't charge me for them. It was just a gift. And I would take them home, and I would have different types of fauna inside of a complex home in the middle of the city. It was a fun experience with my grandparents, but it was very humbling as well to see a lot of chaos as a child. But yeah, the animals were my choice because of therapy. I would say they took me out of a dark place in my life.
I can definitely relate to that as well. So I appreciate you sharing that.
No, thank you, brother. Thank you for hopping on. It was a pleasure having you on. Hopefully, we can get wifey on next time. We can do a double podcast.
Well, let me see where she is. Maybe she can say hello.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. No, come on over, say hello.
I love the chemistry you guys have, man. It's a beautiful symphony to see you guys together.
Thank you. She's coming slowly but surely. I think I hear her coming upstairs. Here she comes, Miss America. Yep, here she is. I'll let her take the hot seat for a second.
Quick Chameleon, how's it going?
Oh, well, I'm good. How are you?
Pleasure. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. So I'm sure you've learned a lot about him.
Yeah, now we've learned a lot.
Yes.
We got it.
I'm the backbone of it all. I'm the heart. I'm the brain. Yes.
Wow. Any other important body parts?
Congratulations, you're working as a registered nurse now, right?
Yes, correct. Yes, I am.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, I've been seeing that journey all along since all those long studying nights with the pepperoni pizzas and all that. Man, it was.
Pizzas have not gone away, Yeah, they're still around. But yeah, thank you. It was a long 2 years, even during COVID. But yeah, finally done.
We'll have to get you and my wifey on the podcast, have a duo going.
Oh, yeah. Ooh. Yeah, get the woman's perspective on the reptile life. Yes.
Or the bearing, all the shit they have to go through with us.
No comment. Next question. We're breaking up.
Well, it was a pleasure seeing you guys. Pleasure meeting you.
Nice meeting you.
Right,
Thank you so much. You as well, brother. Bear with me here momentarily. I'm going to check right with you. I'm going to go ahead and close it up, and I'll be right back with you guys.
All right.
Thank you so much for joining us. This was the Spirit Animal Podcast with the Snake Father, as well as the Snake Father and Friends. They do have a collaboration as well going on, and it's this beautiful network that the Snake Father started. Check us out as well on the Reptile Facebook page as well. We do have the Reptile Mafia Facebook page that we started quite a long in the backs of when we actually started talking. But this was an amazing conversation. Hopefully we can get Nurse Perry as well as the Snake Father back on here for a future podcast with the duo. Maybe the wife can hop on as well. But those are for future dates. For the future, we will be having next week Ari Luna, owner of La Bella Boutique. Rep Tuck as well, and collaboration with Cobra Tucson, Arizona. Thank you so much for joining us as well. Bosa Balls, Aaron, you all have a wonderful night. This was the Spirit Animal Podcast, the Royal George of the Jungle.